Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Arundel. I'm the CEO of CyberData Pros. We are a data privacy and cybersecurity consulting firm, and we're here today to talk about what we've learned after performing 100 audits. An audit can be multiple things. So typically what we do with an internal security audit is we review multiple processes, documentation, look at HR processes, operations, IT, to really find any possible security gaps and measures, and then work with the client to fix those things.
Well, at CyberData Pros, this is sort of an assessment of an IT or privacy system. I think for a lot of people, it conjures the image of some kind of like IRS, grim procedure. It's not really the case with us. It's more just trying to get an understanding of what a system looks like, be it through documentation or speaking with the team, then moving forward, analyzing it, looking for any risks in it or areas for improvement, writing that up in a report along with some remediation advice, and then ultimately delivering it to the team.
I'm sure most people are familiar with the word from maybe taxes or something like that. But essentially, what we're looking to do is evaluate your organization and uncover any potential gaps, weaknesses, any vulnerabilities. And we do this utilizing various methods. What we do is we take all this information and we kind of sift through it, and we look to uncover, like I said, any sort of gaps and weaknesses that we could improve upon that a lot of times either are maybe not thought about or not even aware.
It's about reviewing, assessing, and verifying all different parts of a company's security posture. So an internal audit is a really great way to get both a macroscopic and a microscopic picture of all those different points within your security posture.
I would say that any business that is working with other clients or companies or partners really needs to review internal processes and have somebody come in and perform a third-party audit. Having someone outside the company perform an audit, typically, they're not focused on any particular area. They're really kind of looking at everything across the board to see what makes sense. If you're an internal individual that's performing an audit on yourself, you may overlook things or think things are not important. When somebody from the outside comes in, a third party, and performs this audit, they can actually see what's the specific areas of gaps or problems or issues, and then work to fix those.
Who needs an audit? If that question pops in your mind, you probably do, I would say. I would say pretty much most companies that handle any significant amount of data, PII, PHI, or really just any significant amount of data coming in and out, really should be taking a look at an internal security audit.
Well, I think generally any company that has any kind of IT infrastructure or holds sensitive data, just by the very nature of it being, IT infrastructure exposed to the internet, means that there could very well be vulnerabilities there that could lead to damages. So for just about any company, we'd probably suggest doing at least an annual audit. Oftentimes, if you're holding explicitly sensitive data that just cannot come out there, or you're having really critical systems that you can't afford to go without, or even if you're having major changes within a system, then we might want to bump up the frequency a little bit, just to make sure that we're as up to date as possible.
I think it's important that, number one, you've got buy-in from the top. So basically leadership, your C-level executives, you've got their buy-in, because of course having that buy-in is important from not only a change management process, but spending the money on this without impacting your business. So having that sort of buy-in is important. Making sure the stakeholders all understand what an audit is, what the scope is, how long it's going to take, and of course what that deliverable looks like after the fact, right? So coming out of an internal security audit, you need to have a deliverable that explains what happened, the processes, gaps, any changes that need to be made, and of course ownership and due date. So those are just a few things I think that are really important inside of a business.
If you're preparing for an internal security audit, my best piece of advice is don't be afraid of it. When you hire someone for an audit, someone like us, we really need the best and most accurate, most truthful information we can in order for us to be effective.
A lot of times it seems like, people might be scared of the word audit. It carries that negative connotation that, maybe we are, out to get somebody or looking somewhere to place blame on somebody. But the reality of it is, the goal here is to help you and your organization. And so I think just, really being transparent, open, honest, and really just working with us or the organization that's conducting the audit is paramount.
It's discussed a lot, but I think it's a big deal to understand that this audit, is not it's not an incriminating thing. It's nothing to be afraid of. And the context we're working with here, it's strictly supposed to be beneficial for the company, not getting anyone in trouble. Ultimately, we're just trying to make a safer, more secure, and ideally more streamlined IT experience for everyone at the company.
Historically, audit has been a bad term, right? When you think of audits, you think of maybe an IRS audit, you think of someone coming in and auditing what you're doing. I would say that you can call it a blueprint, you could call it basically a gap document, whatever you want to call it. But again, from an internal audit perspective, it's important to know that if you use a third party to come in and do it, they understand your business, they know the practices, they understand where to focus, all the different stakeholders. But I think the word audit has become a scary term. Don't think of it as a scary term. Think of it as an internal review of your business, your processes, and how you can actually work to make changes to improve your business. Our goal here at CyberData Pros is to work with you so that we're not impacting your business. You can still perform your business, make revenue, do what you need to do, while allowing us to find those gaps and figure out what needs to be changed.
A real learning experience for me. I think, over my education, you do a lot to learn the best practices about a system, where it should be, ultimately. And, of course, a lot of that makes a lot more sense in theory than actual practice. Obviously, not every company's going to be there. That's what we're here for. So I think along the way, I learned that a good audit is dependent on a good understanding of the system you're auditing from its inception and not just its endpoint. And so it's a big deal to understand a system as it is before you can fully get it to where it needs to be.
After performing hundreds of these audits, I would say there are multiple gaps that I've seen. One that I see all the time are usually quarterly user reviews. Oftentimes what happens is when an individual gets terminated or let go from a business, they have access to multiple systems, maybe email, maybe CRM, maybe HR systems, IT systems. It's important that you go through and review all those systems to make sure that he or she has actually been removed from any system that they have access to.
You tend to think of hackers and IT and all of this coding and computers and viruses and things like that. So when you talk about involving HR, you're thinking about things like onboarding and offboarding, background screenings. If someone is fired under bad circumstances, HR is not coordinating with IT, then maybe their access wasn't revoked, and so they could be a rogue actor per se, who's out to get the company, and they still have all their access and could do damage. That's just one example, but I think it's important to just understand that it definitely includes HR, and an organization as a whole really needs to work together across departments.
One thing that I really feel that's important is that when you think of an internal security audit, most people think of IT. They forget about HR, they forget about operations, they possibly may forget about legal. I think having everyone at the table is really important to understand why you're doing this and what areas they can make an impact. When you think of HR, think of onboarding and offboarding. Think about some of those acceptable use policies, the employee handbook. When you think of operations, think about those quarterly user reviews. Think about any sort of laptops need to be returned, provisioning. Everyone needs to have a seat at the table so that everyone understands what you're doing, any gaps, and what everyone can do to improve.
You're going to get so much more out of an internal security audit if you put it all on the table rather than try to sweep something under the rug and fix it yourself and hope it doesn't go unnoticed. So biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid and don't wait. The longer you wait, the worse things can get, or when a security breach happens, because unfortunately it's a matter of when, not if.
There's multiple things that I've learned after performing hundreds of these audits, but one major thing that really stands out is the lack of KPIs. Really having KPIs around data privacy and cybersecurity within your business is very important. Some of those KPIs could be performing an annual audit. Some KPIs could also be the fact that we want to have less than so many security incidents. We're going to perform annual training. We're going to actually put together these policy documents. KPIs are really important because it then holds your feet to the fire, holds the business's feet to the fire, and even leadership, so that way everybody understands where you are and where you want to be. For more information on how to contact us, please visit our website at cyberdatapros.com. You can find blogs, research, additional information, as well as our contact form. Also, please visit the description box below for information on how to contact us for a free consultation.